Hi, everybody. Good morning. My name is Matt Wittek, and I'm the founder and director at Companion. We're a Guelph-based product and technology company. At Companion, our mission is to inspire the world to reuse. We believe that reuse is super important. In fact, we believe that it's really the easiest way to say thank you to our amazing planet. So I see a bunch of reusables today, Clean Canteen, for instance, great brand, and we've been in this space for quite a while. We inspire people to reuse in a couple of different ways. The first is by creating some pretty awesome products. Products like this one, and yes, a total product plug this morning. So we have product, but we also have technology. With our Companion app, you can earn rewards when you reuse. On campus, you can track your impact, you can monitor your hydration, and you fill it forward each time you reuse through our Fill It Forward partnership with WaterAid International. Our products and programs are available at retailers, campuses, and companies throughout North America. So that's enough of the company plug this morning, but I had to do it. But like many of the other panelists, it all started with a passion, a dream, and really almost no money at all. So how did we scale to a multi-million-dollar company? Admittingly, it's not something that I think about that often, so thanks to Innovation Guelph for sort of forcing me to reflect and think about it for our conversation this morning. If we remove the thousands of hours, the sleepless nights, the stress, the support of friends and family, the incredible team, and some luck along the way, what we have left is the fuel of really any business, and that's money. So I'm going to share 3 financial decision points that I think helped us become the successful business that we are this morning, or not just this morning, today as a whole. But the first was I was prepared. I became a full-time entrepreneur when I was 32 years old. That was 5 years ago. At the time, my wife was a stay-at-home mom who was 6 months pregnant with our third daughter, and we decided that that was the perfect time to quit my job. Yeah. The kicker was that I was making lots of money at another job, and a job that I actually loved, working with a great team, but for some reason I decided to quit instead. Being an entrepreneur was always my dream, and thank goodness I have a wife and family that supported that dream along the way. So we planned and we sacrificed, and of course we continue to sacrifice to be able to take this giant leap and pursue our dream. We sold nearly everything we could except our family home. This would give us just enough to get through the first year, and if we worked hard, we could do it again the next year and the year after that. But doing it in this way had a couple of effects that maybe I wasn't thinking about at the time. But now that I've reflected on it, I've understood the effect that it had. The first was by just giving ourselves enough in the bank to get us through that first year, we created the time and space for ourselves to lay the foundation of the company, instead of simply chasing every opportunity just because it would make us a little bit of money along the way. It also had another effect, and that was that by only having enough in the bank for 1 year, it was hugely motivating. In a sense, we were earning the next year and the year after that, and if we were lucky, we'd get to continue on where we are today. And also, it had another effect, and that was because I was working from home, I also had this amazing reminder daily of what I was working for with 3 beautiful daughters that needed food, and one day probably wanted to go to school as well. Professionally speaking, it was really the most challenging and stressful time of my life, but I could have never got through it if we weren't first financially prepared. The second lesson that I learned was to know when to pour fuel on the fire. If you're lucky, there's times in the growth of your company that you get to pour fuel in the form of money on the fire. Different stages of growth for us require different types of investments. And here's a few that worked for us along the way. In the very early days, our savings covered the operating costs of the business, and a personal line of credit helped fund POs. That's how we got through it. When we were ready to make our first hire, we approached BDC, who became a tremendous partner for us, and hopefully most folks in the room are familiar with BDC, but they provide a great service. Based on our stage of growth at the time, we were able to provide enough capital, or they were able to provide enough capital, for us to get an office and to make our first 2 hires. And more recently, as our business has grown, we've started to work with TD Bank. And I see Mark here as well. They've really been a great partner for us. Their lending unit has provided a line of capital that's allowed us to grow and expand our business. And finally, along the way, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that Innovation Guelph has been a really great partner for us, both with mentorship and funding along the way as well. And then the third lesson I learned was that, it sounds like I'm really loud this morning. I hope it's not too loud for everybody. Was that there's really a right time we found to go out and find outside investment. And for us, that time hasn't come yet. But what I mean by that was that, many times at the start of our company, looking for outside investment seemed very appealing. And we read all these articles about companies getting all sorts of investment. And not to downplay the significance of that, it's a super important thing. But I think you have to be ready. And you have to be the right company at the right stage for that type of funding. And I just knew very early on that we weren't ready. We really had a lot to learn about ourselves and the company that we were building. But most importantly, we had to establish our culture. When you're bringing outside investment, it can do a lot of good, but the challenge is that investors will have their own agendas, their priorities, and they'll be laser focused on their return on investment. I felt for us, and this is just for us in our business, that we needed to figure out who we were before we could let anybody else into our circle. In hindsight, I think it's really one of the best decisions that we made. I look at our company now, and we're super solid in our mission. We know the value that we bring to key markets, and we have an incredible team that shares our passion for making a difference. In addition, it had another effect, and one, again, that I didn't foresee, but by bootstrapping like we did at every stage of our growth, it really forced us to be nimble, it forced us to be thoughtful, it forced us to be frugal with money as we grew, which are qualities that I now see rooted in our culture as a company, and I think we continue to benefit from those things. So building that culture and decision-making process is super delicate. It's a process that takes time, and reflecting for this conversation, I'm just super happy that we were patient when we were, and not to say that we won't look to outside investment when the time's right, but for now, we're just happy with the decisions that we made early on. So I hope this was helpful in some way, and I'm happy to answer any questions either now or later.